All right, let's dye a Polymer 80 frame. The very first thing I do is I wash it. I use hot water, toothbrush, and some dishwashing liquid. I use the toothbrush to scrub the entire frame um, and get dirt, grease, oil, whatever is on the frame off. Um, your hand has oils on it, oils that you may have used for the installation of some of the pins. Anything that gets on there is going to affect the color of your frame. Um, my understanding is that you will get blotches. I've done 3 of these and they have all turned out very even, and I attribute that to making sure that I wash the frames thoroughly. I soap it up, rinse it. I do this twice. I make sure I get everything I can reach nice and soapy, so I can get rid of that stuff I just mentioned. I have seen other people's dye jobs and have seen how it is. Some of them are blotchy, and that's what I think does it. It's the dirt or oil or whatever is on the frame. Once you finish washing it and rinsing it, you can actually go straight to the dyeing process from here. Just make sure you get all the soap off, nice and rinsed, and you can go straight to the dye. If you don't go straight to the dye, put it away somewhere where you're not going to be touching it. It's not going to be exposed to anything else. Keep it nice and sheltered, as it were, until you're ready to actually dye it. But like I said, I wash it and I go straight to the dye. Don't fool around with it. And if I set it aside the next day and I'm going to dye it, 2 or 3 days from now, actually I wash it again. I know it's obsessive compulsive, but that's me. Just make sure I get it all off. All my frames have come out without any blotches and very even color on them. I think it's important to do this right. So once you're washed, then you're ready to go and start dyeing, which is what we're fixing to do right now. Okay, here's what you're going to need: hot water, stainless steel tongs, paper towel, your poly frame, and your dye, and a cheap bucket. Cost me $5. First thing I do is I put the frame into the bucket. Don't touch it like I did. It was a mistake. And I use hot water from the faucet, and I make sure that the water only goes up above about 1 inch or 2 above the frame. I don't want to use too much water. 2 reasons for this: I don't want to use a lot of dye because I want to be able to use the bottle for at least 2 or 3 frames. So I don't use a whole lot of water. Plus, I think it helps keep the temperature even. So that's another reason why I do that. Once it fills up to that point, pull it out, shake off the water, put it aside. Now you're ready to put the dye in. Okay, so now get your dye in the bottle, never been opened, and shake it. Just give it a good shake. Make sure whatever needs to be mixed together gets mixed together. Shake the crap out of it, and once you shake it up, pour in. Like I said, I try not to use the whole bottle, maybe a half, or less than a third of the dye. And I use a very scientific way of doing this. I'll show you that here in a second. Take the tab off the top, and I'll show you how I figure out about what's half. That's it, very scientific. and we're ready to go to the stove. All right, fetch your bucket, walk over to the stove, put it on the burner, and put it on high. You want to get a rolling boil, so I switch it on to high and let that baby start to cook. Now, after I poured it in, I didn't do any stirring, so I'll grab the tongs here and stir it. Make sure that dye and that water are mixed well. I don't know if that's necessary because once the water starts to boil, it sort of mixes itself. But anyway, there we go. I'm stirring it, and we'll let it sit there until it comes to a rolling boil, and we can stick our frame in there. All right, through the magic of video, our pot is boiling. And you can see it's rolling and it's foaming, and it's at the temperature we need it to be at once it starts rolling. So I lower the temperature down to low, get my tongs and fetch my frame, put it in there, and one of the things you're going to see right away is that I start stirring it and flipping it, and I don't let that thing sit still. I stir it, I flip it, and so I make sure that the dye is getting attached to the frame evenly. If you leave it sitting in one spot too long, that spot will get darker than the side that doesn't get touched, doesn't touch the heat as much. So, and I'm referring to the base of the pot. So that's why I keep moving it around and sloshing it and turning it. You can see it's already a light blue. If you wanted to take it out now, you could. I like to get mine a little darker. It goes further into the polymer that way. Plus, I think it looks better from a distance. People look at your pistol, it looks like a black one, but it doesn't. You can't really see the blue till you walk up to it and you're like, hey man, that's a blue gun, huh? So I keep swishing it around and twirling it, and you can see it's not going to be in there that long. It happens pretty quickly. If you leave it too long, I've been told by one of the Reddit fellas here that it'll go black. The color will just go black. So you need to keep looking at it and see what color you want it to be. And when it reaches that shade or that tone, then you pull that baby out and you're done. That's it. It's just that quick. Like I said, I like mine a little darker, so I leave it in just a little bit longer than usual. And I'll show you the end product once I get it all done. It's hard to tell with the video because it looks darker than it actually is. It has something to do with the metering of the camera, the phone. So I think this is where I pulled it out. Yep, I pull it out, put it on my paper towel, and move over to the sink. Stainless steel sink, remember? You need to have stainless. Stainless won't get stained with the dye. And I run the water on hot because I don't want to go from hot to cold really quick. So the water that's running now is not as hot as the boiling water, but it's still hot, so it reduces the temperature. And the bottle does say that you want to do it gradually, so that's what I do. Swish it around, move it around, flip it around, and you can see some of the dye that didn't penetrate is in the water now. There's very little that actually gets rinsed off. Oh yeah, don't forget to turn the pot off. You don't want to burn that. So I went back over here to turn it off. And yeah, that's my thumb. So come back over here, swish it around. It's all nice and wet now. And that's about it. That pistol is pretty much dyed now. The only thing I do now is I bring the temperature down a little more. I'll drain this water out that's warm, and I'll make it a little cooler. And excuse me. So anyway, I'll drain this water out, And I don't think I show it, but I do lower the temperature all the way to, till it's nice and cold. So I go from the warm to cold. So once the water drains out, I've moved the faucet so that it's cold now. And then I'll do this for, I don't know, another 5 minutes. Sometimes what I do, and it's what I'll do here, is I'll let that sit in the water, and I'll get my pot and drain the dye under some running water. Clean that pot out, which the dye doesn't stick to the pot. So anyway, I'll clean that out and fill that with cold water, and then I'll let it sit inside that pot for a good 10-15 minutes, if that. I'll go find something to do, kill some time, and that's about it. The pistol's pretty much ready to go. Pistol frame, pretty much ready to go. All right, so here we're back. It's been sitting around in that water for a while now. There's no dye in the water. It's nice and clear, and that's the final color right there. It still looks darker on the camera than it actually is. I don't know why that is. I need to put it up under a light and show you, which I will here in a second. But that's it. It's nice and blue and nice and even. I think you'll be able to do it. Here it is now with under a light, and you can see how even the blue it is, and I think it looks really good. About as good as my purple one. Real easy to do. Doesn't take very long. Maybe a total of 10 minutes, if that, depending on how fast you are. So good luck with yours, and I hope this has been helpful somehow. Thank you.